No one in the control room breathed. Across every monitor in the facility, the same image flickered. A small human child stood inside the most dangerous chamber in the galaxy, and the dragon was waking up. Alarms screamed to the corridors of Coalition Research Station KX-9, a massive fortress built into the red deserts of Forgotten Moon. Scientists froze. Security officers rushed to their stations. Several alien technicians stared at the monitors in disbelief, because inside that chamber was not simply a creature. It was the creature, the one every species in the galaxy feared, the Void Dragon. For 300 years, it had been held here under layers of containment fields, gravity restraints, and planetary-scale shielding. The chamber itself was the size of a city stadium. Even sleeping, the dragon dominated the space. Its body was a mountain of dark scales, each one the size of a transport shuttle. Veins of dim blue light pulsed beneath its armored hide like slow lightning. 2 massive wings rested folded along its sides, and its head alone was larger than a cruiser. The dragon had been captured after the Battle of Carthos, when it destroyed 12 war fleets and burned a planetary capital in less than an hour. No species had been able to kill it, so the Coalition did the only thing they could. They imprisoned it, and since then, the rule had been simple. Never wake the dragon. Dr. Elena Merrick stared at the screen in horror. "That's not possible," she whispered. On the monitor, the containment chamber door stood open, and standing just a few meters from the dragon's head was a child. Human. Security Commander Vrax slammed his clawed hand onto the console. How did a juvenile get inside that chamber? Technicians scrambled through system logs. "Access override trigger from Corridor 7, one of them said. That corridor was supposed to be sealed. Dr. Merrick felt her stomach drop as realization hit. Daniel, her son, Daniel Carter, was 8 years old. Curious, restless, always wandering into places he shouldn't. She had brought him to the station during her 6-month xenobiology research assignment. It had seemed harmless. The dragon was under stasis. The facility had layers of security. Nothing could possibly reach it. Nothing could possibly wake it. Until now. The monitors zoomed in. Daniel stood quietly in the massive chamber, dwarfed by the sleeping giant in front of him. He looked so small, so fragile, like a grain of sand standing before a mountain. "Security teams," Commander Vrax barked. "Prepare containment breach protocol." Armed units rushed down the corridors. Heavy plasma rifles powered on. If the dragon woke completely, they would have less than 30 seconds before catastrophic failure of the facility. 30 seconds before something ancient and unstoppable escaped. Inside the chamber, Daniel took another step forward. The dragon's eye twitched. Across the control room, several alien scientists recoiled. Oh no! A deep rumble echoed through the chamber. Not a roar. Not yet. Just a slow, ancient sound. Like stone grinding beneath the weight of centuries. The dragon was breathing. Stasis readings began collapsing across the control panels. Energy spikes surged through the chamber systems. Containment fields flickered. Commander Vrax cursed under his breath. Wake's cycle had begun. Dr. Merrick gripped the edge of the console. Her mind screamed at the image in front of her. Daniel wasn't running. He wasn't screaming. He wasn't even afraid. He was simply looking. The dragon's massive eyelids slowly lifted. A glowing eye the size of a shuttle bay opened. Ancient, endless, terrifying. The pupil focused, locked directly onto the human child standing before it. The entire control room fell silent. Everyone in the galaxy knew the stories. Void dragons did not hesitate. They did not warn. They destroyed. Security teams finally reached the chamber doors. "Commander," a soldier reported over comms. "Target visual confirmed. Dragon is waking." Vrax hesitated. One command. That was all it would take. A single order to fire. Plasma cannons would incinerate everything inside the chamber. The dragon and the child. Dr. Merrick looked at him, panic flooding her voice. "Wait." On the screen, Daniel moved again. The boy stepped closer to the dragon. Only a few meters now separated them. The dragon's massive head shifted slightly. Its nostrils flared. The ancient creature inhaled. sensing the tiny being standing before it. Across the control room, alien scientists braced for the moment they had feared for centuries. The moment the dragon would strike. Instead, the dragon simply watched. Daniel tilted his head. Then he did something that made every being in the control room freeze. He smiled. The boy raised a small hand and took one final step toward the deadliest creature in the galaxy. Commander Vrax whispered quietly, "What is that child doing?" No one had an answer, because no one in galactic history had ever stood this close to a void dragon and lived long enough to ask the question. And yet, the dragon did not attack. Not yet, but its glowing eye never left the human child. And slowly, very slowly, the dragon began to move. The dragon moved. That single motion sent shockwaves through the entire facility. In the control room of Coalition Research Station KX-9, alarms flashed across every console as containment fields struggled to stabilize. "Movement detected," a technician shouted, energy output rising. Commander Vrax leaned forward, claws gripping the edge of the command console. "How long until the creature fully awakens?" "Unknown," another scientist replied nervously. "Its biological readings are fluctuating too fast." Across the room, Dr. Elena Merrick could barely hear them. Her eyes were locked on the central monitor. On the screen, her son stood in an enormous containment chamber. Tiny, fragile, and completely alone with the deadliest creature in the galaxy. The void dragon's massive head shifted slightly. Stone-like scales scraped against the metal floor with a deep, grinding sound. The creature's enormous eye focused entirely on the child. Ancient intelligence burned inside that glowing gaze. Every alien scientist in the control room knew what that meant. Predator assessment, target acquisition, final moments. Security teams in position, a soldier reported over the comms channel. Several heavily armored Coalition guards stood just outside the chamber doors, weapons ready. High-energy plasma cannons hummed with power. One order from Commander Vrax, and they would fire. But the commander hesitated. The child was too close. Even a single blast could trigger a catastrophic chain reaction inside the chamber. And besides, something about the dragon's behavior felt wrong. It wasn't attacking. Not yet. Inside the chamber, Daniel Carter looked up at the enormous creature towering above him. From his perspective, the dragon was like a living mountain. Its head alone could crush an entire transport ship. Heat radiated from its body. The air smelled faintly of ozone and ash. Yet the boy didn't seem frightened. He simply studied the creature with quiet curiosity. The dragon lowered its head slightly. Slow, careful, the movement sent a ripple of panic through the control room. Several alien scientists backed away from their stations. "It's preparing to strike," one of them whispered. "That's what they always do before the attack." Commander Vrax raised a hand toward the weapons console. His finger hovered above the firing command. But Dr. Merritt grabbed his arm. "Wait!" "Doctor, if that creature attacks." "He's not attacking," she said quickly. "Look." Everyone turned back to the monitors. The dragon had lowered its head until its enormous eye was level with the human child. Its pupil contracted slightly. Studying him, analyzing. The entire galaxy had records of void dragon attacks. Cities burned. Warships crushed, entire battle fleets erased in seconds. But none of those records showed this behavior. The dragon wasn't roaring. It wasn't spreading its wings. It wasn't showing aggression. It was observing. Inside the chamber, Daniel tilted his head slightly. "Wow," he whispered. The dragon blinked. A slow, deliberate movement, the kind no one expected from a creature known only for destruction. Daniel took another step forward. Gasps filled the control room. "Stop him," a scientist shouted. But it was too late. The boy was now standing directly in front of the dragon's snout. The creature's nostrils flared again as it inhaled deeply. Scanning, learning, perhaps remembering. The dragon's breath stirred Daniel's hair as warm air flowed across the chamber floor. Commander Vrax clenched his jaw, and he seconded now. But the second passed. Then another. Still no attack. Daniel slowly raised his hand. The control room erupted in panicked voices. "What is he doing?" "Pull him out." Fire the weapons. Dr. Merrick felt her heart pounding so hard she could barely breathe. Daniel reached up carefully. His small hand touched the dragon's massive snout. The scales were warm, smooth in some places, rough in others. The dragon didn't move. It simply watched him. Its glowing eye narrowed slightly, not with anger, with something else, something ancient, something curious. Daniel smiled again. "You look lonely," he said softly. No one in the control room heard those words, but they saw what happened next. Daniel leaned forward and gently kissed the dragon on the nose. The entire facility froze. Every voice stopped. Every alarm seemed to fade into silence. For one impossible moment, nothing in the galaxy moved. The dragon's enormous eye widened slightly. Then, slowly, the creature closed its eyes. Not in rage, not in preparation for attack, but like a creature experiencing something it had not felt in a very long time. Peace. A deep rumble echoed through the chamber. Security officers raised their weapons. Scientists held their breath. But the rumble wasn't a growl. It was softer, almost like a massive creature sighing after centuries of exhaustion. The dragon lowered its head gently to the floor beside the boy. The massive body relaxed. Containment sensors showed something impossible. Aggression levels dropping across the control room. Stunned silence spread among the alien observers. Commander Vrax stared at the monitor in disbelief. What just happened? Dr. Merrick slowly sat down in the nearest chair. Her hands were shaking, because in the center of the chamber, the deadliest creature in the galaxy had just done something no one thought possible. The Void Dragon had allowed a human child to touch it, and instead of destroying the boy, it had chosen to rest beside him. Silence ruled the control room. For several long seconds, no one spoke. Every monitor displayed the same impossible scene. Inside the massive containment chamber, the Void Dragon rested peacefully on the ground, and beside its enormous head sat an 8-year-old human boy. Daniel Carter gently ran his hand along the dragon's scales, as if the creature were nothing more than a sleeping animal. Across the command center, alien scientists stared in stunned disbelief. Commander Vrax finally broke the silence. Report. Technicians scrambled over their consoles. Containment system stable. Aggression readings have dropped to minimal levels. Neural activity unusual. What kind of unusual? Vrax demanded. One of the scientists swallowed nervously. It appears the creature is calm. The room erupted in confused murmurs. Calm. That creature destroyed fleets. It doesn't become calm. Dr. Elena Merrick slowly approached the central console. Her mind raced through years of xenobiology research. She zoomed in on the dragon's neural activity readings. The patterns were different. Not hostile, not defensive. They resembled something far stranger. Communication signals. That can't be right, she whispered. Commander Vrax looked at her sharply. Doctor? Merrick pointed at the screen. These neural waves, they aren't random. They're organized, like a thought pattern. Several alien scientists gathered around the display. One of them gasped. You're suggesting the creature is trying to communicate? Merrick nodded slowly. That's exactly what I'm suggesting. Everyone turned their attention back to the monitor. Inside the chamber, Daniel continued sitting quietly beside the dragon. The creature's enormous eye opened again. But this time there was no threat in its gaze. Only quiet observation. The dragon studied the boy carefully. Then something happened that caused every sensor in the facility to spike. A low vibration passed through the chamber, not through the air, through the mind. Several alien scientists suddenly grabbed their heads. What was that? I felt something. Commander Vrax frowned. Explain. One technician stared at the neural readings in shock. Telepathic activity detected. The room fell silent again. Across the galaxy, many intelligent species possess forms of mental communication, but there had never been proof that void dragons could do the same. Until now, inside the chamber, Daniel tilted his head. He blinked a few times. Then he spoke softly. Hello. The dragon's massive eye focused on him. Another pulse of thought rippled through the room. This time the signal was stronger. Dr. Merrick felt it like a distant whisper brushing the edge of her mind. Not words, emotions, loneliness, pain, memories older than civilizations. The dragon had been alone for centuries, studied, feared, imprisoned, never understood. And now, for the first time in hundreds of years, someone had approached it without fear. Commander Vrax looked unsettled. What is the child doing? Merrick watched the screen carefully. He's responding. Inside the chamber, Daniel slowly leaned against the dragon's head, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "You're really big," he said quietly. The dragon blinked again. Another ripple of thought moved through the chamber. This time the feeling was clearer. Curiosity. The creature was not studying the boy as prey. It was studying him as something new, something different from every other being it had encountered. Because every other species in the galaxy approached dragons with the same emotion: fear, weapons, violence. But the human child had approached with something else entirely: kindness. Commander Vrax crossed his arms. "I don't understand this." Merrick nodded. Neither did the ancient civilizations. She pulled up a series of archive records on the central display. Ancient star maps, old battle reports, historical fragments from civilizations long gone. Void dragons weren't always seen as monsters, she explained. Alien scientists leaned closer to the screen. These records come from civilizations that existed tens of thousands of years ago. Images of massive dragon-like creatures protecting early settlements appeared on the monitors. They were guardians. Gasps filled the room. "Guardians," someone whispered. Merrick nodded again. Early civilizations described them as protectors of young species. They defended entire systems from cosmic predators. But something changed. She switched the screen to another historical record. Ancient battle footage. Dragon corpses drifting in space. Fleets hunting them. Later empires try to capture them. Weaponize them. Control them. Her voice grew quiet. They didn't succeed. Commander Vrax slowly realized what she was suggesting. "You believe this creature became violent because it was hunted?" "Yes, and imprisoned for centuries." Everyone looked back to the monitor again. The dragon's massive body remained still, peaceful. Daniel gently patted its snout. "You're not scary," he said. Another telepathic ripple filled the chamber. But this one carried a different emotion: relief. Across the control room, scientists exchanged uneasy looks. For centuries, the galaxy had believed void dragons were unstoppable engines of destruction. But the truth might be something far more uncomfortable. They were never monsters. They were survivors. Commander Vrax spoke quietly. "So the most dangerous creature in the galaxy," Merrick finished the sentence, "may simply be the loneliest one." At that exact moment, every warning alarm in the facility suddenly blared. Red lights flooded the control room. Technicians spun around in their chairs. "Commander!" Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. Vrax rushed to the main tactical screen. Dozens of unknown vessels appeared in orbit above the research moon. Pirate ships. He swore under his breath. They came for the dragon. Inside the containment chamber, the void dragon slowly lifted its head. Its glowing eyes shifted toward the ceiling, sensing the approaching danger. And for the first time since awakening, the creature spread its wings. The alarms became deafening. Red emergency lights flashed across Coalition Research Station KX-9, turning the control room into a storm of panic and shouting voices. "Hostile fleet confirmed," a technician yelled. 27 pirate vessels entering low orbit. Commander Vrax stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The pirate ships were already deploying attack formations. Sleek black cruisers surrounded the research moon like predators circling wounded prey. "They knew," Vrax growled. "They knew the dragon was here." Dr. Elena Merrick looked back at the containment chamber monitors. Inside the massive enclosure, the void dragon had lifted its head completely. Its glowing eyes stared upward toward the sky above the facility. The creature could sense the approaching threat. Daniel Carter stood beside it, looking up in confusion. "What's happening?" the boy asked quietly. The dragon's wings slowly unfolded. The movement alone shook the entire chamber. Dust and debris slid from the enormous wings as ancient muscles stretched for the first time in centuries. Across the control room, alien scientists stared in horror. "No," one whispered. "It's fully awake." Commander Vrax turned toward the security teams. "All units prepare for evacuation protocol." But before anyone could move, the pirate fleet opened fire. Explosions shook the outer sections of the facility as plasma bombardments struck defensive shields. The tactical screen filled with incoming fire warnings. "They're targeting containment structure," a technician shouted. "Shield levels dropping." The pirates didn't want to destroy the dragon. They wanted to capture it. A living weapon like that would make them unstoppable. Inside the containment chamber, the dragon rose to its full height. The enormous creature towered above the research facility like a living mountain. Metal supports groaned under the pressure of its movement. Daniel stumbled slightly as the ground trembled beneath him. The dragon noticed immediately. Its massive head lowered again, gently steadying the child with the side of its snout. Across the control room, several alien officers stared in disbelief. "It's protecting him," one whispered. Commander Vrax clenched his fists. "Impossible." Outside the facility, pirate assault shuttles began descending toward the moon's surface. Their goal was clear: break into the station, take the dragon, kill anyone who got in their way. Inside the chamber, the void dragon's glowing eyes narrowed. Another pulse of thought rippled through the station. This one carried a powerful emotion: danger. Daniel looked up at the creature. "They're bad guys, aren't they?" he asked. The dragon's wings spread wider. Its enormous body moved between the child and the facility walls, a protective barrier of living armor. The chamber ceiling suddenly exploded. Pirate breaching charges tore through the reinforced roof. Armored assault troops dropped into the chamber on thruster packs. Blasters raised, weapons aimed directly at the dragon. Their commander shouted through a helmet speaker. "Target confirmed. Secure the creature." The pirates opened fire. Energy blasts struck the dragon's scales, but the shots barely left scorch marks. The ancient creature turned its head slowly toward the attackers. For the first time since awakening, the dragon growled. The sound rolled across the chamber like thunder. The pirates hesitated. They had expected a chained monster. What they saw instead was something far more terrifying: a guardian. The dragon inhaled deeply. Commander Vrax's eyes widened. "Oh no!" The dragon released a blast of brilliant blue fire. The energy wave tore across the chamber like a star exploding. Pirate soldiers were thrown backward as their armor systems overloaded instantly. Several assault ships hovering above the broken ceiling lost control and spiraled away in flames. The remaining pirates panicked. "Fall back! Fall back!" Outside the facility, pirate cruisers fired heavier weapons toward the station. Missiles streaked through the sky. Before they could strike, the void dragon launched itself upward. Its wings beat once. The shock wave shattered the remains of the containment structure as the creature burst through the facility roof. Across the control room, every screen filled with the same breathtaking image: the void dragon rising into the sky, massive wings cutting through the clouds. Pirate ships turned their weapons toward it. Hundreds of cannons opened fire. Energy beams slammed into the dragon's scales. The creature roared, a sound so powerful it echoed across the entire moon. Then the dragon struck. It moved faster than any creature its size should have been able to. One pirate cruiser vanished in a blast of dragon fire. Another ship lost power as the dragon's tail smashed through its engines. Panic spread through the pirate fleet. This wasn't supposed to happen. Retreat! But the dragon wasn't chasing them. It wasn't hunting. It was protecting. The creature circled above the research station like an ancient guardian returning to its duty. Every pirate ship that moved closer to the facility was driven away by blasts of blazing energy. Within minutes, the attackers began fleeing orbit. The pirate fleet scattered into hyperspace. Defeated, inside the shattered research station, stunned scientists watched the battle unfold on their monitors. Commander Vrax slowly lowered his hands. "They're retreating." Dr. Merrick looked at the main screen. The void dragon descended back toward the station. Its massive wings folded as it landed gently beside the destroyed containment chamber. Standing in the rubble below was Daniel. The boy hadn't moved. He simply looked up at the returning dragon. The enormous creature lowered its head beside him once again, like a protector returning to the one it guarded. Across the control room, the realization finally settled in. The dragon had not awakened to destroy them. It had awakened to defend them. The pirate fleet was gone. Only scattered wreckage remained in orbit above the red desert moon. Inside Coalition Research Station KX-9, stunned silence replaced the chaos that had filled the facility only minutes earlier. Across the control room, technicians slowly confirmed the same report again and again. No hostile ships remaining. Orbital space is clear. Attackers have fully retreated. Commander Vrack stared at the tactical display, still struggling to process what had just happened. The pirates had come with a fleet capable of destroying the entire research station. And yet they had been driven away in minutes, not by warships, not by planetary defenses, but by a single ancient creature the galaxy had feared for centuries, the Void Dragon. Dr. Elena Merrick stood beside the main monitor. Her eyes were fixed on the camera feed from the containment chamber ruins. The dragon had landed in the center of the destroyed facility. Smoke and dust drifted through the broken structure, but the creature itself stood completely still. Its enormous wings slowly folded against its sides, and beside its massive head stood Daniel Carter. The boy gently patted the dragon's snout again. "You did good," Daniel said softly. The dragon's glowing eyes blinked slowly. Another faint telepathic ripple passed through the station. This one carried a very different emotion than before. Relief. Commander Vrax finally exhaled. "I don't believe this." He turned toward Dr. Merrick. "That creature just defeated an entire pirate fleet." "Yes," she said quietly, "and it chose to do it." Around the room, alien scientists exchanged uneasy glances, because that realization carried a deeper implication. The dragon had not acted under Coalition command. It had not been controlled. It had chosen to defend the station. And more importantly, it had chosen to defend the human child. Commander Vrax crossed his arms. "That creature is still the most dangerous life form in the galaxy." "Yes," Merrick agreed, "but not in the way we thought." She tapped a command on the console. Historical data filled the central screen again. Ancient civilizations, old dragon sightings, records from forgotten eras. For thousands of years, she explained, the galaxy assumed void dragons were unstoppable predators. But the oldest records tell a different story. The images shifted to ancient star systems, dragon-shaped silhouettes flying beside primitive space stations. They were protectors, guardians of developing civilizations. One alien scientist frowned. Then why did they attack later empires? Merrick sighed quietly. Because later empires tried to enslave them. A heavy silence filled the control room. The dragon on the screen lowered its head again beside Daniel. The boy climbed onto one of its massive scales like a playground rock. Commander Vrax shook his head slowly. "I spent my entire career believing that creature was a monster." Merrick looked back at the screen. Maybe it became one. For a while. But today it remembered something else. Inside the ruined chamber, Daniel leaned against the dragon's head again. "You're not scary," he said. "You're just big." The dragon closed its eyes again briefly. Across the station, several sensitive species felt the telepathic pulse once more. This one carried something new. Gratitude. Hours later, emergency crews carefully approached the chamber. Medical teams rushed toward Daniel. But the dragon shifted slightly, placing its enormous body between the child and the approaching soldiers. The entire rescue team froze instantly. Weapons were not raised, but no one dared move closer. Daniel looked up at the dragon. "It's okay," he said gently. "They're my friends." The dragon studied the approaching figures, then slowly moved aside. Dr. Merrick rushed forward and wrapped her son in a tight embrace. "You scare me to death," she whispered. Daniel looked back at the dragon. "It was lonely," he said simply. Merrick followed his gaze. The dragon stood quietly in the ruined chamber, alone again. For centuries the galaxy had feared the creature, imprisoned it, studied it, but never once asked what it needed. Commander Vrax approached cautiously. "What happens now?" he asked. Merrick looked at the dragon for a long moment. Then she answered, "We stopped treating it like a weapon or a prisoner." Several alien officials exchanged uncertain looks. "You want to release it?" "No," she said. "I want to get home." Months later, construction began on the largest sanctuary ever built by the Galactic Coalition. An entire uninhabited moon was converted into a protected environment. Open skies, deep oceans, endless land. A place where the last void dragon could finally live freely. The dragon remained near the station until the sanctuary was complete. And during that entire time, it never allowed Daniel to wander far. Eventually, the creature moved to its new world, but it was often seen flying near human colonies, quietly watching, guarding, as if remembering something important. Years later, the Galactic Coalition updated its official records. Void Dragon classification updated. Not a galactic threat, not a weapon, but something far more complicated. The final line in the report became famous across hundreds of civilizations. A warning repeated to every species entering the galactic community. If you encounter a void dragon, send a human, because the most dangerous creature in the galaxy had revealed a truth no one expected. Sometimes the deadliest monster in existence is simply the loneliest one